Good day, everybody. Welcome into today's video. And I can tell by you just looking at the title of this video that this is going to be the first official Dead by Daylight mobile tier list that we are making on this channel. It will be officially version 1.0, as in we're in the very first version of the game. And we're going to be covering all the current killers. I know the tier list might have future killers that might be added, but we're only going to be focusing on the current killers in the list. And if you do see your favorite main killer or just kill you enjoy at a lower tier level, that does not mean they're not a good killer or they're not viable. It just means compared to the other killers, they don't get as much value out of their power. Currently, in the current situation of the game, you can take any killer that we talk about today and easily get them up to rank 1 as a killer. This is just going to differentiate the difference in how easy that's going to be or how hard it could be as well. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and start the tier list, and we'll kind of go into a little bit of detail of why each killer is the rank that they are. And of course, if you feel that I might be wrong with any of these, let me know down in the comment section below. And yeah, like I said, each killer is different, and the more experience you have, it's going to make it that much easier or harder. But the main goal of this tier list is just to give new players an idea of where killers stand when you have no experience, versus where you've been playing for 3 years or you've been playing since 2016 or 2017. Some of these killers will be easier to pick up for you just because you're a more experienced killer. But so yeah, this apologize, I can't even talk very well. This killer tier list is going to revolve around pretty much if a newer killer picks it up and kind of goes from there. But yeah, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start it with the first killer. And it's going to be our boy Trapper, and of course he's going straight to D tier, being that he has such a slow startup, and he's going to rely heavily on really good perks and really good add-ons to succeed consistently in a lot of matches. And that's kind of where he falls short. Is it comes down to RNG and his ability to set up and have good placements. Because if you just go into a brand new match of experienced survivors and you're having to spend so much time setting up your traps, they might already see what you're doing from a distance. Like if you're on Haddonfield or any other really strong survivor-sided map, they can already start setting off your traps beforehand, and it can just be a really uphill battle where you're relying on the perks that you have to carry you. So that alone just places him at the bottom of D tier. And then the next killer that we have is Freddy. While he is one of the most controversial killers, he is a solid killer when it comes to his abilities. He has a lot of variety to what he can do, and the survivors aren't very aware how to deal with him. He's kind of almost a better version of Sadako. He has the ability to teleport anyone on the map, but his ability to teleport to any generator on the map is better than the ability to teleport to TVs on the map, because it's more consistent that you're teleporting to a generator that you might have just procced with Tinkerer, so you already know you need to go kick it, and you can start the effect of Call of Brine to start the regression. And he just has a lot more in his kit that goes in his favor, where he can summon Slowdown. I'm honestly almost tempted to put him at the bottom of A tier, but his Slowdown just isn't really that good of a Slowdown. You can kind of just run through it, drop pallet, or just easily avoid it or not have any effect because the hindrance effect doesn't last long enough. But if you're really good with this killer, then you're going to excel with his kit. Either that's setting up the traps to slow down survivors, make them scream, or even use the fake pallets. He kind of just has a lot in his kit that's available, and he's more fun than a lot of people will lead you on about. He does take a little bit to learn and get. He's the same speed as any other killer, a basic moving distance, but at the end of the day, he's a solid B tier killer. And that leads us into the next killer, which is the Pig, who is honestly putting her straight in the back middle of the bottom of B tier. She has a lot going for her in the sense that she can have a slow start to the game, kind of like you would Trapper, but you start with all your traps, so there's nothing, you're not picking up anything As soon as you down a survivor, you get to put an immediate slowdown on their game, and you have the ability to wait and do this until the end game, till there maybe like 2 or 1 generators left to pop. And if you get 2 survivors with a bear trap on them, once they finish the last gen, they have to prioritize either finishing that last generator or finding a way to get that trap off. And this constant slowdown works very well with different perks that incentivize slowing the game down, whether it's Call of Brine or Hex Ruin, which, by the way, is just so broken right now if it's in its very first stage of a 200% aggression. But there's not too much else going for her. She does have her sneak ability, so she's really good at getting up and close on survivors early on before they start being aware and looking around. But she does have the roar that kind of notifies you beforehand, so you do have the chance to react. But it is a good ability where she gets an extended speed, but that's what places her in B tier. She doesn't have really anything else that goes to put her in A or S tier. And that brings us to our next killer. And we have the Clown. While some people really love him and can play him at the quality of an A or maybe even an A plus tier, his general kit is just going to land him straight into the C tier. He doesn't have anything that helps him naturally slow down the game. While he does have a good perk set, that doesn't necessarily make him a good killer. He's good at loops, and that's about it. He does have a ball that speeds him up, but that's not gonna consistently be effective. Or when your ultimate goal is just to slow down survivors and cutting off loops. But he has nothing in his kit to really stop survivors from gen rushing, and that can kind of be his hindrance. You might be able to catch 1 or 2 survivors off guard, but his just basic movement speed with nothing else going in his kit except being able to throw a bottle is what kind of lands him into C tier. And I do apologize for any snuffling that goes on. I'm going through some allergies right now, so there is that. But all in all, he falls right into C tier based on his ability to have an effective looping ability that can kind of hinder survivors. But even good survivors, they can work around it and kind of gauge where he's throwing his bottles. But if you're a really good clown player, you're easily going to play at an A tier, maybe an S tier ability where you're just destroying lobbies. But all in all, he falls right into C tier. And next we come up to our favorite mistress, the Spirit. And she's going straight to S tier. Her perk set just makes her really hard to deal with. If she's one of the first killers you pick up and learn as a new killer, the perks that she comes with is already going to be helping you out greatly. Even if you don't, her ability to phase in and out makes her an instant S tier killer. It makes it really hard for survivors to know which way to go. As you see the blood marks, you see the scratch marks as you're phasing in and out, and you have an increased speed. So a lot of times you'll be able to drop right on survivors doing a generator or anything else, just them running. It's easy to find. Her main reason for being such a strong killer is it's hard for survivors to predict properly where she's going, and she can really just snowball games so quick. But that's a really quick answer, but I might make a bigger episode on why she's so strong in the future. But for the sake of this video, we'll go ahead and move on to the next killer, where we have the Legion, and he might be one of the more annoying killers to face for survivors. While the Spirit might be super strong and you might have really good matches with her, the Legion, on the other hand, will have a lot of games that might end up forcing survivors to just rage quit and not even want to play the game. But at the end of the day, he still finds himself as a solid B tier killer. His main ability is his rush, where he just moves at an increased speed. I think it's roughly around 4.8 or 4.9 meters per second. It's pretty much almost a double the speed, which his main ability right now is, well, it's always been, is to pretty much hit a survivor while he's going extra fast, and he places an extra effect on them to where they now need to heal again. But the main reason survivors get so annoyed of this is he can spend the entire game having everyone in an injured state where they have to keep on mending over and over again. It's not uncommon to see a Legion match go for roughly 45 minutes plus, and a lot of times, especially on core, When he was first released, he was just beyond broken, but people would just straight up DC and not even want to deal with him, even though he's not like an overly whelming strong killer. But due to his kit, he can make games extend very, very long, and it can be just a slugfest of just fighting it out. But the reason why he's in B tier and not like S tier for this ability is he really lacks in the ability to get the downs, because he has to leave his speed effect, and then he's just a basic M1 killer or trapper with nothing else going in his kit to like really slow anyone down. But he can jump pallets, which is a cool effect, but experienced survivors are going to be able to work around that really easily. But with that all out of the way, let's go ahead and move on to Plague. She is going to mark the first A tier killer we have. Much like the Legion, she has a really good ability to make medkits useless. She can keep the entire lobby injured the entire game. But where she kind of excels more than the Legion is she has good ability. She's like an A plus tier, A plus and a half. Not exactly S tier since she doesn't have a lot of movement speed, but she does have a lot in her kit that makes her very easy to snowball games and keep an entire lobby injured, mainly due to her vomit that she has. So she pretty much at all times can keep an entire lobby on their tails. But if you're a new Plague killer, you might find it really overwhelming and hard. So if you are just picking her up once or twice, I promote you to give her at least 5 or 6 matches to get her down, because once you understand her mechanics and her vomit and pretty much keeping all the environment sick and just infected, you're going to realize how easy it is to keep an entire lobby just injured, and you're going to have a great time with her. If she is one of your first killers you pick up, give her a couple games and you are just going to be having so much fun destroying lobbies and making games go by at a relatively good 15 to 20 minute pace on average. And the next killer we have is my personal favorite, the Ghostface. I would love to put him in A tier since I have over 400 hours in him, but realistically, I know he is middle of the ground C tier killer. This is mainly because he doesn't have any built-in slowdown. He really kind of, like Myers, kind of needs the lobby itself to be kind of like unaware or not really paying attention to get a lot of value out of his ability. And his ability is pretty much just stalking survivors and then pretty much getting them into an instant down phase. And once they're in that instant down, it's onto your ability to mind game and do loops properly to get those hits and get those downs quickly. But I will say, if you are facing a newer lobby that's with newer survivors, a lot of times you're going to find him very good and very destructive just because he has that ability to 99% a survivor. And if they're like running straight to the gate to get out, you can press the one button, have him insta down, and then just smack him right over the top of the head and get that easy down. But that's only the really good strategy that you have with him is keep survivors 99 and try not to hit them to get them out of that 99 state. And really good survivors will understand this and try to get you to hit them so they don't have to worry about getting instant down. And then they also get their exhaustion perk. So if you are going to play them, be aware of that when you're placing experienced survivors. They will try to get you to hit them to get them injured so they can use their dead hard or any of their other exhaustion perks that require them to be injured. The next killer would have been Demogorgon, but as you know, he's been removed from the game. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the Oni, who is right next to Plague being an A tier killer. His main, just like Ghostface I was saying though, he can take a while to get used to. I say give him a solid 8 to 10 matches as you're learning his ability. He's honestly pretty easy to control on mobile than he was the last version of mobile, but he can have a slow start of the game where you really need to get that first hit or two to start getting your blood collected so you can actually get into your advanced state where you have the ability to instant down survivors. But where he is way better than like Ghostface, for instance, is that he gets an extended speed boost where you can cross the other side of the map at a really fast pace and just instant down survivors. And with the right perk set, you can really just snowball games really quickly. I've seen really good Oni players end games in the first 5 to 6 minutes against really experienced survivors, just because his kit opens up so much possibilities. If you are facing a really good Oni, the best thing you can do is avoid getting hit as soon as possible. So he's one of the few killers where I recommend to throw pallets as soon as possible and just keep it moving. If you can get him delayed, get the first 2 or 3 gens popped before he gets his ability, your team has a way better odds of beating him. But that's his main weakness, is just getting that early start, so he has his blood orbs collecting and building up. Next killer would be Deathslinger, but he has not been released yet. We'll talk about him more next month in version 1.1. But we're going to go to Hillbilly. On console or core, he is a B tier killer, but on mobile, he is easily an S tier killer. I know you might be watching this and going, how is he that much different from mobile to core? And I will say, if you played him or faced him against an experienced version of him, he is just next level. His speed and his turnability is pretty much almost like a motorcycle. He has very good turn rates, and this is without any add-ons. He can pretty much easily cruise through the entire map, easily make sharp turns. With very little experience, you can be a brand new Hillbilly, and after 2 or 3 games, you can consistently be getting 2 or 3 Ks against high tier Swift players. So that is why he is an S tier on this. He might drop down into a B tier once he gets his nerfs like he did on core, but currently with his how easily his mobility is, and with any perk setup with like the Prime Hex Ruin and so many other great perk sets, he is temporarily going into the S tier. I am fully expecting him to get nerfed in the future and and him just having a terrible time. But for now, he is going to be a unique S tier killer that probably won't be here for long. This is probably going to be a temporarily until we get a lot of updates and balance changes. But that's putting him straight into the S tier due to his mobility and his access of great perks that complement his playstyle. Next, we would have Pyramid Head, but as you know, he is currently removed also. We might be getting him towards the middle of this year, around July or August. No idea when we're getting Blight, Twins, but that brings us to our favorite pop star, Playboy Trickster. So he could easily be a C tier killer, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and drop him in the B minus tier. The main reason being is if you're in the open with a really good trickster player, you're gonna go down. There's nothing you can do other than try to make him miss. But he's good trickster players aren't going to miss very often, and the only time he's gonna have any trouble is around really good loops where you can't use your knives and you're gonna be forced just to play the M1 game. Otherwise, you're gonna be wasting a lot of time. There's not much more going on in his kit other than that he throws knives and he has to reload like the Huntress would. But other than that, he's a B tier killer. It can take him some time to master and be able to actually get solid downs. Good killers, good survivors are going to tend to work around really big loops and kind of just waste your time as much as they can. But once you get them in an open spot, you're going to be able to easily down them, and with the right add-ons, you're going to be able to ricochet off of certain pallets and get quicker downs. But that still puts him in solid B tier. And we're going to go to nope. The newest killer to the game has been Sadako. And as much as I love her and on core, I have her to P15 currently. Nothing crazy compared to other players, but I don't play too much. I adamantly play more on mobile now. I have to put her, as much as I love her, at C tier. The high end C tier, she only has one viable playstyle that can be considered an A tier, S tier, but it's much like the Legion where you're drawing out matches of 30 to 45 minutes. You're leaving the survivors slugged on the ground, so they're already not going to be having a great time unless they just enjoy getting knocked down a lot. But her main playstyle is a hit and run where she uses the TVs that are spread out around the map. Kind of like what I was telling you with Freddy. She doesn't do very well when it comes to chases. She doesn't have a built-in slowdown or anything to help her in chase like Freddy does. So that's what puts her in the C tier. But she does have an undetectable status, so it's easier if you're facing newer survivors or less experienced survivors. You'll probably have a better time and win more massive matches. But once you get up to the high MMR, if we actually have that, you're going to notice you're having a lot more time sweating it out against these higher tier survivors. But that's what puts her in C tier. Let me know if you agree with me down below. I could see her as a B tier killer at most right now, unless she got a crazy update. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about our boy the Wraith, one of the oldest killers in the game. I'm just going to drop him straight to B tier. I'm sure you guys all know that he is a solid selection, and he can only really struggle against good pallet loops and good survivors. He will eat up brand new survivors if you're good with him, but he doesn't have really anything in his direct kit to make him an S or A tier. He has no slowdown. All he does is bing bong, unbing bong, and get a short speed boost. That's everything he's got going on his kit. Nothing else really stands out that makes him any better or worse. He does get the speed boost and the silence, so he's good at sneaking up and getting quick hits. But other than that, that's all he really has going for him. And the next thing we have is our lovable, overpowered, hardest to learn killer in the game, the Nurse, who she will always remain the top of the tier list, the best killer that we have, and she's going straight to S++ tier. Not too much needs to be said, but if you are a new killer and you see this tier list and you're thinking, oh wow, okay, she's the very best killer, I'm gonna pick her up, I want you to not do this. I want you to kind of build learning actual loops. Take a standard killer like maybe Pig or Trickster, even the Legion. Just learn to get really good at mind gaming and doing loops before you move on to the Nurse. She can take a long time to master, and you'll have a lot of frustrating games with her. But once you do master her and you are aware of basic loop structures, you'll know what survivors are already going to be planning to do, and you'll just be that much better as a Nurse main. She pretty much skips all gameplay, and she can go through almost any structure. So there's nothing really too much to get in why she's broken. She pretty much is just perfect at doing what she does, and that's breaking the game. The next killer we have going on is the Huntress, and she is the very top of A tier. Your experience with her will greatly depend on your skill with how good you are at shooting, pretty much. If you're good at long range shots, or if you are good at being accurate, she's gonna feel like an S+ tier killer. You're just gonna decimate lobbies. But if you struggle more with projectile type killers, she's gonna feel like even like a C tier killer, because she has no slowdown. She has nothing in her kit other than throwing hatches. That's all she has. But if you're good at hitting your shots, then she's gonna feel like an overpowered killer where you're easily just destroying lobbies. She's also one of the most satisfying killers to play, but that's beyond the point. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next killer, and I do apologize, my allergies are terrible this evening. And we're going with our guy Myers, and I could easily drop him in D tier along with Trapper, but I'll do the benefit of the doubt and put him at C tier, just because he has so much in his perk loadouts and his add-ons that you can bring that put him ahead of Trapper. If you have the right build, you can easily get a survivor out of the game in the first 2 minutes easily, and that alone puts him in C tier. But his kit alone is really hard to work around. If you're playing against experienced survivors, they're going to make your time miserable. And even if you get to your tier 3 status, you're not guaranteed to get that much value out of it. So if you are looking to pick up Myers, as he's a lot of fun and a valuable licensed character in the game, understand that you're going to need to learn how to be really good at loops and getting out of tier 1 as soon as possible. You're pretty much a very, very weak killer until then, but his main strength he has is he's very fun to play. He has many different play styles. You can play Scratch Mirror, you can play Instant Kill, you can play Forever Tier 3. So there's a lot of different options you have with him. Just because he's at the bottom of C tier does not make him a bad killer to play. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you can easily take any of these killers and get to rank 1. It's all about their abilities stacked against each other and how much value you instantly get out of it. So seeing him at the bottom of C tier does not mean you shouldn't pick him up and play. On the contrary, he is probably one of the 5 most fun killers to play in the game once you mastered the art of the basics of the game. So take that with a grain of salt, and if you want to pick him up, I highly suggest it, as he's one of the most fun licensed killer for myself outside of Ghostface. Next, we have the Hag. I was tempted to put her at B tier, but after talking with a lot of the community, I was convoluted into approving her into the A tier, mainly just because she's one of the strongest killers in the game right now that can control 3-gen. Her traps are very good and very oppressive if you're not paying attention. The only thing you can really do is try to crawl over them, but that chews up so much of your personal time that the Hag is still getting something out of you having to crawl over her traps. I will say, if you do have a flashlight, you can use it to burn up her traps, but that's just a niche thing that you won't see too much, and survivors don't always bring flashlights, so you can't rely on that. Also works with flashbangs, but her kit to easily control 3-gens, she's probably, outside of Bubba, she's the best killer it is at securing kills or proxy camping killers. Proxy camping survivors, forgive me, it's late. But all in all, that's where she really shines at, is in that direct 3-gen situation where she can just make survivors' times miserable. But that's what lands her in A tier. The reason she's not an S tier killer is she has no built-in slowdown, but she's really good at placing traps and controlling loops. On to our next killer, we have our guy, the Doctor. And he might be one of the most balanced killers in the game currently. I'm putting him dead center right ahead of Legion at B tier. He's a great first killer to pick up. If you're just picking up Dead by Daylight mobile for the first time, I'm telling you right now, pick up the Doctor and you're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to learn where to find survivors, how they hide. You're going to learn a lot of their habits. His main ability is shocking, and shocking a wide radius that forces survivors to scream. This ability is going to help you find survivors easier, get you in more chases, and you're generally going to have a lot more fun playing with him versus other killers early on if you're a new killer, because you're going to get a lot more chases out of him, and you're going to learn how to use his shock power in chases to keep survivors maxed out into tier 3, forcing them to have to go out of their madness state, kind of like mending, except they get a lot more check marks. But that puts them smack dab in the middle. Experienced survivors will easily kind of beat up on him if they're in the right situation. But other than that, he's a solid killer, and you can't go wrong with him. And the last killer for today is going to be Bubba, and he's going right into the bottom of B tier. A lot of survivors are going to tell you that the only reason to play Bubba is the face camp. That's not entirely true. He is the strongest killer, of course, at defending a hooked survivor because he can instant down anyone and he can snowball games really quick. But he has nothing speeding him up or making him faster. His chainsaw sweep is very strong if he hits anyone, of course, but it has terrible collision right now in the game. And that is the reason I'm actually putting him at the bottom of B tier. A lot of things are buggy with his chainsaw, and it kind of has a lot of weird interactions with the environment, and he can hit a lot of obstacles way more easier than he can on like core or the old version. And he might move up in the future, but right now that's putting him right at the end of B tier. But with that out of the way, that is our first tier list for Dead by Daylight Mobile. If I forgot anything or left off any killers, as this was a little bit rushed, this is the official 1.0 version of Dead by Daylight Mobile Killer tier list. If you would like to see anything else like this in the future, I plan on doing a perk tier list and a survivor personality for myself where I would rank them. But other than that, this is going to be the first tier list. We'll be making the second tier list once we get Deathslinger next month, hopefully. And other than that, if you did enjoy this video today and made it to the very end, I appreciate you stopping by. My channel just recently hit 5,000 subscribers, and if you could join in and give me a sub, I would greatly appreciate it. Like and comment what you think. It helps me grow and helps me support my family. So I do greatly appreciate this, and I hope you guys have a great day wherever you're at. And don't forget to hit hit me up down in the Discord server. I help moderate the Dead by Daylight mobile Discord server. It is a great place with a great community. Pardon my terrible language. A great community with roughly 48,000 people in climbing. By the time you're seeing this, we could easily be at 49 or 50,000 people. It's a great place if you have any bugs or questions, or if you want to get good feedback on the game and have your opinion heard. That is the place to be. But all in all, this is the first official tier list, and I do appreciate you guys watching to the end. And if there is anything you guys want me to do in the future, let me know down in the comment section, and I appreciate you all. Have a great day, and I'm signing out.